description of brokerage services. The form used to look like this. Now it looks like this. Most of what it changed was just how it looked. The information didn't really change. There's nothing significantly different in here. Just harder. Our mindset, remember, we're into this generation of people that stay for 1 second on the commercial and they like snippets, and so now we're going to start snippeting people and putting little dots, and we're not going to have paragraphs anymore in 2016. We're just going to have
it looks like a soundbite.
Yeah, that's all it is. So nothing significantly changed on this form. I don't think there's any significant problem. It just kind of explains what's going on. You know, if you're brokers, realtors either are a broker or they're the salesperson. I'm the broker, you're the salesperson. You know, you represent the buyer, the seller, or you represent both. You have a dispute, here's how it works. Nothing significantly changed on that.
You gotta put your name and the license number on the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
It's not, what, 1545 height, and then underneath it is you?
no,
That's
you can
the
just put
license
Boulevard Realty. You can just use the assumed name, which is Boulevard Realty. You don't have to put 1545 Heights Venture, which is the true entity. You can just put Boulevard Realty,
Okay.
because we have a DA for that. So you put Boulevard Realty, our license number.
And then your license number. Your name and
Yes.
license number.
Yes. Yeah, then me. So you put Boulevard Realty, then you put Bill Baldwin, and then you put your name.
I wonder if we could go ahead and fill that in and then upload it to zip forms, maybe.
Probably.
With that information already
Yeah,
in
but I still
there.
look up your license.
Or you can do it, yeah,
Or
I'm sure you
you
can,
can
but I know you can do it yourself as a
Oh,
template.
it's a template.
You'll check into it, see if we can put it on our forms already filled out. Yes.
So if I understand from the classes that I took before licensing, that is, no, they are not required to sign that. Is that still the case?
That's right. You're just required to give it to them, but I mean, it
Ask
does.
them to read it. You basically
Here
sign
is
it
the
and
buyer's initials here, so I mean, it's asking you to have an initial now by closing or whatever, yes.
And essentially sign it, that means they've read it.
That's right.
It doesn't obligate them to
They
anything.
received it.
It just says
Yeah,
they
I
read it, they
understand.
understand what the heck's going on.
Right. They stress about it in the class, you know, that you have to give this to everyone that walked into every open house or anything.
Yeah, they didn't tell us that,
Okay, perfect, good.
but,
Let's get off that.
but they told us they didn't really have to sign it, and you didn't really have, that's what they told us.
I would get them to sign it.
But it is a required doc for us.
Yes,
For
Yes,
us,
you know, so if you're making an offer, they need to know what it is. But if you're just paying someone to look at houses, you don't have to give it to them and get it signed before you put them in the car. I don't care anything about
A lot of people attach it to their email.
that, right? Okay, let's just get into the contract. And in these revisions, I mean, there were the old one, which is red, there's the new one, which is blue, and there's green that was proposed but not adopted, okay? I'm not gonna pass them all out because it just got to be too time consuming and too complicated, because I really don't think we have to go over all this stuff too much. In general, a lot of this, so third party financing addendum all got modified. Okay? And that's what creates changes in about 90% of the form. So that form, which is now just gonna be buyer's approval, not credit approval. You're either gonna get the buyer approved for a loan, or the house isn't qualified for a loan. And there's two different things. We just care if the buyer is qualified. So the third party financing addendum is just asking how long does it take to get the buyer approved. Sometimes people, have provided some information to their lender and they give them a pre-qualification, but they haven't verified any of the information. They don't really know if they're still employed. They don't really know if they have a tax return filed or not. They have to actually, from pre-qualified to qualified, you have to actually qualify them. So it clarifies it, and we'll go over that form here separately in a little bit. It's asking if the party has an interest of more than 10%, you're gonna have to write on here. So if Brandon owns part of 539 Merrill, or Melissa owns part of 623 Oxford, or the entity, then they're gonna have to write in here, licensed agent Brandon Kruger owns more than 10% of 539 Merrill. If he's an agent to that property, he's the license holder disclosure, he's gonna have to disclose his interest, or the interest of a spouse, a parent, a child, or a business entity. You're just disclosing if you have some interest, or you're the child. My father owns, you're selling your father's house, you're selling your son's house, you're selling your partner's house. You're gonna have to disclose that information here now. Made it a little clearer, okay? No big deal, I don't think. All this sort of talk about financing within the contract got removed. all just gone. It's not there anymore. It's all in the third-party financing addendum. Okay? All this section about the appraisal and credit approval, that sort of section is eliminated. So, right, keep on going down. The next big thing, and they're continual and all this thing, they're very, 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 very worried that you're gonna sell a house on a lake or on a river, and then there's no water in the lake or the river, and instead of being lakefront, you're gonna be desert front. So they have all this stuff about water level fluctuation. So if you're selling something on a water, whether it's in Cinco Ranch or in Austin, understand that lakes rise and lakes fall, and droughts happen, and there may not be any water there. So if they're buying it because of the water, they need to understand clearly that the water may go up or the water may go down. Very fairly common sense there. Okay, they did keep in here on number 7, we discussed it before about the hydrostatic testing. If your client, who's entitled to do a hydrostatic test, but you must have it authorized in writing if you're going to have a hydrostatic test. Easiest way we figured out at the moment is just do an amendment over here that says seller authorizes buyer to conduct hydrostatic test by ABC Plumbing Company within the option period. Have them sign that. That is written authorization that you've given them permission to do it. The plumbing company may have their own form also. Often they do, and they require the seller to sign it in order to do work in someone else's house. But you're gonna have to have it in writing if you do this hydrostatic testing.
That's purchased by the buyer.
The whole things are negotiable, but you would think so. It could be, I mean, you could negotiate it one way or the other.
How often do you see those done?
You see them done all the time. I mean, if you sell a ranch style house in Garden Oaks, Oak Forest, or Timber Grove, or Westbury, and it's on a slab, you're probably gonna get a hydrostatic
And the
test.
pipes are 50 years old,
Yeah.
so
If it's a brand new house, you wouldn't normally do it, but in any house,
40, 50
soil's
years old.
new, plumbing's in the foundation, it's very common to do a hydrostatic test. It's not so common in a pier being because water can drip out, you can see the leak from underneath the house. On a slab house, it's fairly common. Okay, let's just keep on going, we're just hitting the highlights of these things. If you have any questions, you just let me know. That really matters, that really matters. They have, we always kind of used to talk about these damage of things that it used to be 3 times the amount of something, triple damages. They've taken all that language out because the courts have been loosey-goosey with damages, and there's some laws limiting the amount of damages these days. So they just took it out and just made it damages. I don't think it's any big deal one way or the other. They probably shouldn't say that anymore. Okay, here's the biggest thing, which we talked about. Option periods now end at 5 o'clock on the time zone of which the property is located, okay? Don't write in there that it ends at midnight or it's based on someone's time zone in Dubai. It's made it real clear here that it's 5 o'clock in the local time zone where the property is located, okay? So we're not gonna be dealing with these damn option periods at 11:59 at night. They're not gonna be emailing you or calling you or whatever. Get your option periods over with by 5 p.m. on that date, okay? So it didn't change when the days start, but it ends, okay? So if you're gonna terminate or you're gonna work your thing out, 5 p.m. is the deadline, okay? Same thing, we've talked about this many, many, many times. The only time it's mentioned in this contract, the time is of the essence with regards to the option period, okay? Which means you need to meet the criteria, which was changed a while back from 2 days to 3 days. So if you want the right to terminate, you must pay the money. And you must get it somewhere by 3 days and have it receipted. No rule about when the earnest money has to be there. You're under contract without earnest money if it's more than 3 days. You have a code of ethics that said, yes, you're gonna get it there in a timely manner, whatever that means. But there's no strict outline. It has to be there within 1 day. You don't have to have earnest money when it's signed. You don't have to have earnest money within 24 hours. There's no rule that has to be to the title company in 10 minutes. It's not mentioned. It's just mentioned with regards to the option period. But you do have a responsibility to get earnest money to the title company, especially if you're the keeper of the earnest money. If your client, I got under contract at 923 Teach Shorn yesterday afternoon. The man is driving back to Oklahoma. He is stopping to conduct business in Nashville. This is now Tuesday, probably going to drive Wednesday, spend the night Wednesday, get up Thursday, drive there. He's going to wire the money on Friday. Perfectly acceptable. That's reasonable. He's in town to buy a house. He didn't have $25,000 on him. He's going to have to get to the bank and move the money around. Doesn't want to do it while he's working. Perfectly fine. Okay. Okay. Questions about the contract? Changes there. No big deal there. Okay. Let's go to the third-party financing addendum, which did change a couple of things. Now remember the new rules with FSBA and RESPA and all those sort of things about providing the information to the title company. If you're paying cash, okay, there's a separate form we probably need to find and go over one more time that you need to provide the form to the title company in order for you to receive the information from the title company, okay? We talked about it once before. But if it's financed and you're using the third-party financing addendum, just go to the bottom all the way. It's going to go ahead and grant the authorization. We've never discussed this before. Just a little bit. Down just a little bit. Okay, so it's granting in the little form now. The buyer authorizes the buyer's lender to furnish to the seller or the buyer, their representatives, that's you, information relating to the status and approval of their financing. They've already given it to you. You have the little form. If the lender's an asshole, says he can't, produce the information for confidentiality, send in the little form over here, circle the little paragraph and send it to him. It authorized the buyers giving authorization for you to receive the information. Same thing, the seller and the buyer authorize the buyer's lender, the title company, the escrow agent, to disclose and furnish a copy of the closing disclosures provided in the relationship, and all the crap that you need over here, okay? So this form is granting the title company the ability to give you the closing statement for the buyer side and the seller side, okay? In the form, if you use the form, the third-party financing addendum in December, it's not in there. If you try to close something tomorrow and they say they can't give you the information, you might have a problem. But if you use the form after January 1, it's provided right here that the title company can give you the information. Never really talked about this one. Any problems with that one? Because it was a little confusing how it worked. And if you're paying cash, you're going to have to get that other form that's in our zip forms that gives, and you have the buyer sign it. If you want the information from the seller, you're going to have to get the seller to sign it, but then to automatically give you the information. Let's go back up. That's pretty big because we haven't talked about that one. Remember, we've taken out the word credit all the time. So go to the very top. Clearly, what you're saying when you submit the little form and in the contract is how many days is it going to take for the buyer to get financing? Go to the very top.
So it leaves a blank for how many days?
That's right. So if you're going to have conventional financing, again, they move this section to the top. So I guess we're having conventional financing. It's going to be at 4.25%. For 30 years, not to exceed 1.5% for the first 30 years. That would be a typical sort of comment at the moment. Shall make it 3.75. There may not be 3.75% money. You fill out this form, which moved to the front, go all the way down to the back. Okay, so this clearly is just about the buyer getting financing. Okay, is the buyer approved or not? That's what you're looking for, and you have so many days for the buyer to get approved, okay?
What's the typical days?
10 days, 7, it's still my belief it should equal the number of days in the option period. Why would we want to extend the buyer's ability to screw around here, they've gotten some pre-approval probably by the time you've gotten here. Make them select a lender and make them run them through there and verify the information. How long is it taking to get buyer approval?
7 days.
I mean, that's right.
7 to 10 days.
7 to 10 days would be the normal. Now, 99% of the time, you want to have buyer approval before you put them in your card. There's no reason you wouldn't have final approval of the buyer before you even start the process. So the people that are wanting to wait till they get under contract to pick a lender are really doing everyone a disservice. They're jerking around the realtors and the seller. The seller needs to, but if you don't have any way else to get under contract, just do it, but you need to be able to have the buyer get under contract, make loan application, select the lender, and, do it as quickly as possible. Now, so then, below this paragraph, where it says you gave the buyer, it makes it real clear. I don't think you can get any clearer. The property approval, which has nothing to do with the buyer, okay, will be deemed to be obtained when the property satisfied all the lender's underwriting requirements, which could be the day before the loan, but the day before the close date, they could decide that the property doesn't meet the lender's scenario. They don't want to approve a basement, they don't want to count the third floor, it's in a floodplain, age of the roof has got flagged by the underwriter, anything could happen, subject to an appraisal, insurability, or anything that the lender requires. And in any scenario, the buyer can terminate the contract, giving notice to the seller prior to closing, and the earnest money will be refunded to the buyer. If the property just isn't going to meet the lender's deal, just isn't going to meet it. You can't keep the earnest money for that reason. So it's pretty clear here. It's not a little paragraph in parentheses. It's its own little number over here. Okay? So the buyer needs to get approval within their, time frame. And that's what you're really checking on, is the buyer approved or not. Not much you can do about this other thing. You can stay on them and say, have we met the final underwriter's approval for the property? That's what you would be following up on after the option period.
So can the other realtors sort of mess around with, extending the option because they said we're still waiting for.
It has nothing to do with the option. They're totally protected. No, we're not going to give them the unrestricted right to terminate. That just lets them go and find another house or change their mind. No, you would terminate the option period, which was your period to decide your due diligence with regards to repairs, and then you're just in this limited subject over here of the property, provided that the property meets the deal. The buyer just can't change their mind for any reason. Okay? So that section's fairly clear.
What about, properties that are in a flood zone?
It's that, then the lender's gonna say, no, we're not gonna approve that anymore. That would be a reason that the buyer could terminate and receive all their earnest money back. Questions about third-party financing addendum? Y'all have any questions today?
You doing a good job?
Thank you. I want to, go back to the contract for a second.
Hey, good morning, how you doing?
I just want to point out, if you can't find it, on that mediation, it's automatic again on paragraph 16. So it's clarified mediation a little better than ever about, how you're going to go to mediation. It's not like you're going to have a choice anymore, will or will not or whatever. It's fairly clear how it's going to work. If you can't resolve the issue, the court system is going to send you to mediation. So we don't have any boxes to check anymore, and it's outlining how mediation works a little bit more. We haven't had any mediation issues lately, but I just want to point it out to the lawyers that you represent. Okay, where do we want to go next? Let's just go to buyer's walkthrough for a moment. It got a little confusing before when it used to say that the property had to be in the same condition as the date the contract was executed. That was kind of the standard bearer of what it was, okay? Now they've taken that sort of thing out and they've made it clear that they're going to give the property to the buyer in its present or required condition, ordinary wear and tear accepted. Movers move out and they have a dolly and they run through the floor and they have the lines through the carpet. There's no way to get the furniture out without doing that. That's a normal wear and tear. I'm not saying that people can leave it in bad shape, but it doesn't have to be any longer lingo where it was the date the contract was executed, okay? It's made it clear that there is going to be continual wear and tear from the day of contract. What if it's 6 or 8 weeks later or whatever? Grass turns brown in the summer, plants freeze, things happen. It's normal wear and tear. You shouldn't be expected to put the grass back the way it was March 1 if you're selling in June 30th. Yes, I know that's gonna be confusing.
No, I just have a question from a walkthrough last year. We did a walkthrough the day before we signed the contract, everything was perfect. We signed the contract, the buyer, who I represented, went to the house, and there's this huge hole in the ceiling. Somebody had stepped through the attic, and the seller paid for it.
You're still contractually obligated to
Okay,
fix anything
And
like
I
that.
was really happy.
From
that
the
we did
time
that.
that you did your walkthrough 2 days before and the water heater exploded and the floors are buckled, they're still required to repair those items.
Okay, so anything that happened before the contract was signed, but.
From the time the contract was signed until the time of funding, they still have to leave it in a normal
Oh, I mean
manner.
like closing, so it was closing day,
Mhm.
that they went back. and-
Yeah, if you walked through it the day before
Mhm.
and that morning a storm came through and a tree fell on it,
Okay.
of course they have to fix it back or, you know, at least negotiate their way. Maybe they get assigned back the insurance proceeds or whatever, but they have to deal with it. Yes?
What if it's a carpet or vacuuming and grass or the carpet and unravels like, one, then one?
There's always gonna be a gray area. If they damage something, if the mover
I
comes
mean,
through.
is that normal wear and tear, or is that?
It's normal wear and tear that they can vacuum at any particular time in that house. I was vacuuming, but let's say it wasn't the day of the walkthrough, that it was after we got under contract 3 weeks and you were closing 3 weeks later and that happened. That's still normal. You don't have to replace the carpet. It's normal wear and tear while you're there. Now, if you're under contract, you're out of option period, and the refrigerator breaks, okay? Now the refrigerator's on there. You were getting a refrigerator that works and now it's not working. We have to negotiate our way through there. Doesn't mean that they're gonna get a brand, and it's a 15-year-old Viking refrigerator, because this happens a lot in my world. You know, refrigerator breaks 2 weeks before closing, but after the option period. Then, of course, the buyer wants the brand new Viking refrigerator. The seller wants to find the 15-year-old refurbished Viking refrigerator, but instead of being black, it's now blue. You know, and it's a problem there. They have to negotiate your way through there. You know, they aren't expecting a brand new refrigerator, so you don't necessarily have to do that. But you're gonna have to do something. You know, find the part somewhere else or make an allowance. If it's $9,000 refrigerator, you might have to give them a $2,000 credit so they can buy a refrigerator. Maybe they're not getting a brand new Viking, but they're getting a brand new Gen Air. Okay?
We have a lot of agents not getting buyers walkthroughs. How important is it that they get one?
Well, I mean, it leaves us liable in the event that the purchaser then says that there's a problem later. Usually I don't find out about it until a month later or 2 months later, whatever. So it's left us liable, and the insurance company doesn't want to cover you in the event that we get into some lawsuit about it. Sometimes we just can't get a buyer to sign it. So I need for you to make a note on the form that says buyer refused to sign. And I will call them and I will say, I'm the broker, I just want to make sure you find this property acceptable. I cannot require you to use the form. But if you knowingly know there's a problem and you go to sign, then you've waived your right for me to be responsible, because I gave you an opportunity to fix something if you know something's wrong. If you discover something's wrong, because they never want to sign it when there's the 2-day lease back, because they don't want to say that there's now a 4-foot hole underneath this rug. And I get it, we can't make them do it. But I want to know why they didn't sign it. That's the most important thing. If you alert me, they're not going to sign it because there's a 3-day lease back or a 1-month lease back.
And what about new construction?
Well, I think they should sign it, the same thing. I think you have an addendum that's surviving after closing or whatever. Can we attach this to the deal and say, see the addendum? And that's what I would like to know. What is your expectation for the closing, so that 1 week after closing, when you say the builder didn't finish the punch list, I at least would have had it on a little tickler file that we can follow up with or whatever. So I want us to make I want us to put the file out there, try and get it signed, and if you can't get it signed, then I want to know why. Now, the big firms all want their clients to sign it too. I'm assure you, they've all been sued. So Martha Turner, Don Daugherty, and Greenwood King, you're not going to have an issue because their agent's going to get it signed. But Are there Keller Williams, Realty Associates, Champions people that are not as conscious about it? Well, sure they are, and I can't make their client sign it. I can just ask them if there's a problem at closing or not.
And I need them uploaded to Backpage it, please, after closing.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not seeing them.
So what about things that are obscured by furniture and carpet and things like that?
Well, I mean, it's saying that the seller is still gonna deliver the property in, its required condition.
Right, okay, but stupid question.
There's no
but-
stupid question.
But, okay, you don't know until they move out
That's right.
what's under the.
So subject to moving out. You just write, put a little asterisk, like, subject to the people moving out. Here's what happens all the time, especially houses that were built 95 to 2005. We all went through this thing. Instead of hardwood floors like this, people wanted this Brazilian cherry and all that sort of stuff, whatever. You put the rug down, the people move out. The color of the floors look one section there, and over here they look totally different. I mean, they don't even remotely match. This is like yellow, and this is red. And it was very common to have discoloration of that type of flooring just based on sunlight and things, whatever. So when the people move out, they're mad as hell, they want the floors refinished. But I mean, the seller didn't say that the floors were the exact same under the rugs. If that was an important deal, that's right, it was a lot of a surprise much of the time. Get another rug, there was a rug there, and you get another rug and refinish it.
Do you normally do the walkthrough how many days before closing?
I would do the walkthrough as close to closing as possible. If you need multiple walkthroughs, if you need one 3 days before and then one in the morning of at the same time, just a quick, 3 days before, you're really verifying that the 10 items on the amendment were done. So Knox, we had 10 items, we did a walkthrough, and we added a gutter downspout, we replaced the air conditioner, we tightened the water, we fixed a leak, we replaced we had 10 items. So yes, we walked through with the buyer, Frank walked through with them, and pointed out all the things or whatever. Of course, she pointed out 4 more light bulbs that she wanted fixed, changed out from the master closet, because she was 4 feet tall and couldn't reach the 10-foot ceiling, that's fine. So then we fixed it, and we walked through one more time the next morning before closing. That was on Wednesday night before closing, Friday at 4. So then we made them walk back through, 3 o'clock on Friday. The main one was to verify all the things were done for the amendment. A quick walkthrough before closing is a very good time. Even if you do 1 2 days before to check your amendment.
Even if there's attached allowances of repairs.
You still want to do the walkthrough to make sure that the water heater didn't overflow. I would. Okay, any questions about the walkthrough? There's major issues there. There were a lot of little changes. There is a little summary to this deal. It's 26 pages long of the changes that went into effect. I'm not going to go over all that. It just seems a little silly. Most of them are common sense. How many of you are going to sell a house on a lake today? Not that many. And of course, the same changes were made in basically all the contracts. The condominium stuff modified a little bit about the request for documents and things. And the resale certificate, it's relatively common sense. If you do a condo, you might ask me about some of that sort of stuff. They updated the general information. There's a new website for the sex offenders. You want to find them, they've updated the website and put that in there a little better. The tenant stuff, with regards to tenants, they modified the language a little bit more with regards to deposits, but nothing was overly significant, to be honest with you. It was clarity of the legal language, I think, more than anything. So these are up and going. You'll see some new forms. I think the biggest confusion could be the option period. Old people who don't have a sales meeting might not figure that out about. So they could send you something at 7 p.m. or 9 p.m. or want to continue to negotiate into the night. You have to kind of play that by ear. Not in the habit of screwing people over here. I think we would read through most of that in the first month or 2 of the year. I think there's going to be confusion about the disclosure, whether or not you need that other form or not. Certainly, you're going to have to send this third-party financing addendum or circle it. Most of the title companies are probably smart enough to figure it out. I'm not sure the lenders necessarily are, unless you work with that.
Do you need to have your clients fill out your seller's disclosure if they fill out a home one?
There were not any material changes. I don't
so. There was that
think
one.
that you really need to, so that's a good question. If you got, took a listing on November 1st, the form did change. It's relatively insignificant. I don't think there's any law that says you have to fill it out unless, here's the deal, unless you have some property that's located in a groundwater conservation district or, something weird with their water system. So you might just ask me about that. If there's a rainwater harvesting system larger than 500 gallons that uses the public water supplies as an auxiliary water source, I don't think we have that many instances of that. But if you're doing some rural property, maybe.
Once you find out who's gonna actually be, doing the financing, when you just go ahead and send them a request for the information, followed by the contract.
I think you tell them the contract and the third-party financing. Yeah, I think you would.
And then that keeps from anything being delayed as far
So
as.
it's gonna go to the title company, so they're gonna have it already. Lender's gonna need it in order to do financing, so they should have it. You wouldn't wanna just give the contract without the third-party financing addendum. So yeah, I'll do that. The cash ones are gonna be a little different. So teacher one was cash yesterday, so don't necessarily have that form that went to the title company. I'll have to get the other form for that one. Yes, sir.
You might have gone over this before, but I'm kind of curious, option periods, are they really ending at 5 p.m.?
They're really ending at 5 p.m. I went over it, but I'll go over it again. Yeah, you're going to end at 5 p.m. on the time zone of which the property is located. So buyers in California, it's not 5 p.m. California time, it's where the property is. Okay. Yeah, definitely that's one of the more significant changes. I think if people want to, you try and get it done before 5 p.m. of course. Try and get it done on the 6th day instead of the 10th day if you can. But it definitely is close, 5 p.m. is probably about the most significant change.
How long is it taking for the funding to actually take place? Is it
The
still
funding?
45 days?
No, it never was 45 days.
Okay,
I mean,
so
still 30 days has been fine for most people. We have not seen any significant extending of contracts based on the new rules overall. Certainly, just while we're there, we're certainly getting more appraisal issues. It's one thing when the economy is just kind of booming and everyone's optimistic. When it's not so booming, there's a high level of scrutiny. Where we're getting at a lot these days that I'm seeing, which is kind of weird, is, even 9th Street or whatever, they did not want to count what was the wine room underneath. We're getting a lot of these attic conversions when you're going up and the plate height starts low and then they vaulted the ceilings. They're not wanting to count any of that square footage. I don't know that any real rule kicked into play or whatever about where you start. It has to be at 4.5 feet before you can count it. But we've experienced a few of that. Certainly had plenty of instances where the houses aren't appraising just based on financing and value. Certainly, they had a lovely article in the newspaper again today. Don't like it, but it's the stark reality of it. The average person who's buying new construction, who got under contract in the spring, is getting a significant reduction. There's a huge article about it in the paper today. And the average reduction is fairly significant. So if you got under, the one reference today wasn't that bad. If you're in David Weekley buying a house in Cinco Ranch and it was $550,000 March 1 and they were starting construction after that, you're going to close February 1, that buyer wants a $50,000 reduction. And that buyer is probably going to get the $50,000 reduction. Can't make them, but if it doesn't appraise, they can do it. But the buyer today thinks that the economy is significantly worse than when it was if they got under contract 6 months ago. And it's mostly in new construction. It's in the problem.
What about areas? Are certain areas they're not appraising as high as they were?
I think we're seeing the biggest stress probably still in the suburbs. We always see the biggest stress because there's more comparables. There's Plan 3185, which is, a lot of houses in that same general price range and lot size. In the city where you're having more, there's more variety of the houses. There's still more latitude of things. But yeah, we're having, Stars deal. We were off $140,000 on Home Street, $140,000 off on the appraisal from 700 to 550, or I don't remember. It was about $140,000. But that's the most expensive house in a pocket, and so we're seeing that a lot of the time. I mean, we told those people from the very beginning when we got under contract, I suspected we were gonna have a problem. They closed anyway, but I mean, we can't necessarily make them, but I mean, if you have the single most expensive house in a pocket, whether it's Carlton Woods in the Woodlands or, River Oaks, you're gonna have a problem.
There was a guy in Carlton Woods that was in the paper. He paid 19 million for it, and it's now listed for 6.1 million.
It wasn't worth 19 million we paid for it. So yeah, the most expensive houses, the townhouse market is gonna continue to see significant stress. I mean, you're definitely seeing this. If you bought a townhouse that's 3 stories with no yard and no over-redeeming quality in 2013 and 14, you bought at a high, and it is not worth $1 more than what you paid for it. It's probably worth $50,000 less than what you paid for it. So the people that lost their job and they want to sell their townhouse and recoup 7%, they're in trouble. They better lease those suckers or take their loss and move on down the road. But there's very little way that townhouse has appreciated. If you have a big yard, you're on a corner with a big yard, you're 2 stories versus 3. Yeah, you got some redeeming quality, I think you're still probably okay. But I mean, there's a lot of 3-story townhouses, the 25-foot wide market in the Heights, I mean, it's bad. I mean, it's bad and probably gonna get worse. You can't have 80 houses for sale in that, price range, whether it's 500 to 700, and sell 3 a month and not expect there to be some sort of problem there. But it's a vicious cycle. I mean, I got the same exact house on 27th Street that they have at 400 block of Portland Park, different builders, same exact plan. And every time they lower 50, then he lowers 50, and they lower 50, and they lower 50, and we were started at 900, and they're at 649 now. What do you think I'm really gonna get? Probably not gonna get 599. At some point, we gotta stop lowering the prices and just sit down over there and wait it out. But, every time they keep lowering, that's lowering the comps for that thing.
Do you still advise telling the sellers to do just one price reduction?
I would just hold firm and leave myself room to negotiate. I think a little, if you go for a little bit, you send out a little reduction, it sells the world that you really do want to sell, but there's no point in continuing to lower. There's just no point in it. It doesn't matter. I mean, we've been talking about it. I get, you're going to have these $100,000 differences in prices. I pray that when people make an offer, it's only $100,000 today, not 200. If it's 100, you got a fighting chance of meeting somewhere in the middle, especially if you've laid the groundwork with the seller that leave yourself some room to negotiate. I'd probably just hold firm with the prices. It's going to get, I think January, February, March, probably going to be fairly bad. There'll be some people that buy houses, and it'll get a little better. Not going to be great March, April, or May. It's just going to be okay. But I think we're probably in the worst phase of it.
What should we tell our people about protesting their taxes for this year?
Almost every house, unless they did something to it, is probably worth less than it was January 1, 2016 than it was January 1, 2015. So almost. Now, if they were undervalued, it doesn't mean that the value can't go up. So, if it's, they bought.
You think HCA's gonna reflect that?
I think they are.
Really?
I think if they even remotely thought there was a price increase, a value increase in Houston, Texas, January 1, no way. That's not, like I say, if your market value is up here and your taxable value is down here, doesn't mean that they can't go up. If no one's market value went up, there's no way. I'm not sure it didn't go down, a lot. But yeah, I think everyone should watch what happens.
Protest.
Yes, there's all good questions.
Verbiage suggestions. I have a potential buyer.
It's a great time to buy.
It's a great time to buy, but they're not from this country, and they continue to talk about that there's going to be a market correction, and they keep
the market has corrected. We don't have bidding wars anymore. That was the correction.
But
now there's
they're
balance.
expecting,
The number one thing we need to talk about and they need to watch is population growth. You add more people to a region, it continues to absorb the houses. So there's a net gain of population of 25,000 people in Houston, Texas. It's a big city. which created additional stress, which really meant 100,000 people moved from the suburbs into what was the Beltway and then the 610 loop. You had 100,000 moving in, created stress on the housing supply, especially single-family housing supply. We're only sitting at 3.2 months of inventory of that single-family house in the general price ranges or whatever, and I don't expect that. While a lot of people don't buy when times are bad, a lot of people don't sell when times are bad. The inventory will keep the balance of the single-family housing. Townhouses, yeah, I think yes, you probably want the townhouse market. If you're going to assume the risk of it going down, you're going to want a discounted price of that townhouse. I think that you are, or you're probably going to want to wait it out.
But if you're talking about Bel Air or West U,
Single-family houses, it's fine.
and that we're not expecting.
Prices have continued to go up. They haven't gone down. Median price went up, average price went up. There hasn't been a price reduction. We've lost billions of dollars in value. And while we have lost 100,000 jobs, there was a net gain of jobs. Those 100,000 people stopped working at Exxon and went to work for a petrochemical company over there where there are bidding wars and things are booming near the Port of Houston and in the petrochemical industry. So it hasn't caused a significant problem with regards to pricing. I think the new construction is probably the most optimistic. Some people are not realistic with their pricing and they're going to have to adjust. And yes, if the builder paid very top dollar for his land and then has been financing it and wants to recoup his interest expense because it took longer to sell, it has nothing to do with its value. I think those people probably are going to have to adjust accordingly. But the average resale house and the average house on the market that's pricing it within a range is probably going to do just fine. Doesn't mean that there's not someone with an overpriced house that's going to have to come down. But the average prices, if we look at what's, so like the heights, I can take it and say, forever we were at $275 a foot, and then we went to $300 a foot, and then we were buffering along what basically was about $325 a foot, okay? New construction, single family house with something nice over here, okay? And yes, Bradley Smith got on the corner of Studewood and Balin $408 a foot. So there's an instance of $408 a foot. But what we need to probably realize is the average of what sold was about $300 to $310, maybe $300 now. So it was never really worth $408 a foot over there. That was just a pipe dream. And so his other houses aren't worth $408 a foot either. Got to get back into, they're not worth $385 a foot. I don't care what he paid for the dirt. There are other comparable houses that say it should be priced at this, and I don't think the consumer today is going to want to pay top dollar because Bradley Smith paid top dollar for his dirt. They don't care. They don't care that it costs $60 to produce that oil. They love $1.89 gasoline. They love it. But you understand, we're subsidizing that gas. It costs more than that to produce that gas. But that's all they're willing to pay for it. The houses are much the same way. So I don't think you're going to see a huge correction with regards to the single family housing. But I don't think the one in West U backing to 59 is going to be the same value as the one in the middle of Southampton or on Albans. Albans is a nicer street than Bank, so Albans should probably it will either sell quicker, and the bank one won't sell, or the bank one's going to have to discount theirs fairly significantly. Same with Herkimer versus Harvard. Given your chance, you're going to live on Harvard before you live on Herkimer. If they're the same price, Herkimer's going to sit there forever. What else you got? These are good questions. No other questions? All right. That's it. Thank you. We will have more of these meetings. There's going to be some speakers. We're just going to keep meeting every Tuesday over things like this. All right.
This is from my open house on Saturday. And so I just sent him an email yesterday saying there's another.
I'm still, your deal that fell out
My
of
fear is that we have a townhouse for myself.
Well, you're just going to have.
So Christina left last time, after we were okay with the water capacity. They threw that over on one of you get called and say, oh, yeah, well, you're stupid.
Probably.
Because I told you they weren't going there.
6
Okay,
months.
all right. Because there's more than one house.
South South. I got you. No other issues, and that is determined by your competition. Doesn't matter what.
It's gonna be
It's gonna fight. It's relevant.
Hopefully, the ball people would try and work out the day before. Of course, it's gonna be after 5.
So if there's how we do. 2-mile area route. Right. Not